Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And the night after the Bucks played the Miami Dolphins, it was good to see some of your backups and get to see a little bit of your starters. And I think that you can see progression in some places, and some places, that's something that we'll kind of get into later on in the podcast. I'm joined today by a very special guest, author Jameis One of One. And it's really cool to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on, by the way. How are you doing?
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. I'm a fan of your show, and I'm doing great today.
All right. Hey, you've got a book you just released, Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome. And I cannot wait to read it. I ordered it. I just haven't gotten it yet. Snail mail, you know how that works. I wanted you to what inspired you to write this book, and just kind of give us a little bit of history with you and NFL quarterbacks.
Okay. I'm not really the typical person that you're going to talk to about football. I'm a Christian theologian. I hold an advanced degree in theology. I'm working towards my PhD. And I'll quote Bible verses as quick as I'll quote somebody like Tupac or Thomas Sowell. So I've been studying quarterbacks for a few decades. 2 decades actually. And I'm not an FSU fan. I'm not really a Bucks fan, and people who follow me on Twitter, they understand that. I am a fan of players. I'll follow certain players, and I saw Jameis's very first game in college against Pittsburgh with my son, and it only took a half to see that the guy's legit. He's got a serious future, and but as a lot of people like that, they don't pan out. There's a ton of great college quarterbacks that they never pan out. And if you go through Jameis's whole career, he was an Elite 11 MVP. He was the number one ranked quarterback out of high school. A lot of those guys don't pan out. Very few of them do. So my thing is, I love studying quarterbacks. I love watching football, and I felt like I needed to write the book. I mean, I've written other books before, and I've ghostwritten a bunch of things like that, but I felt like I needed to write the book because one thing that struck me was that I've never seen in my life a quarterback as slighted and slandered as Jameis Winston. Never. I mean, I've followed a ton of quarterbacks over the past 20 years. I've never seen somebody as slighted and slandered as this guy. And that just piqued my interest. I mean, being a theologian and being familiar with the Bible, I mean, I like stories like Joseph, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are falsely accused of things. There's a lot of people that are slandered for no reason. And it just got me researching Jameis and researching everything, the off-field stuff, the on-field stuff, everything. And the more I researched, the more fascinating I found him as like a character study. And
Right.
I just felt like I needed to write the book. I felt like I needed to do it before the 2019 season. Um, I may issue an edition, in the future, which would have a different title, because
Right.
hopefully the media loses this derangement syndrome that they have.
So tell us a little bit about the book. I mean, what can readers what should, if you're wanting somebody, you're saying, hey, I want you to read my book, this is what it's about. Give us a kind of a brief overview of what we're going to read about in this book.
Okay. First of all, it's a monster. It's 400 plus pages. It's backed by almost 900 citations, and it's filled with a lot of original statistical research that's error adjusted, stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. So it's a serious undertaking to really read and study it. But the other thing is that it's not just a book for Buccaneer fans. I mean, it's not even just a book for Jameis Winston fans. I've had people read it and get a hold of me, through DMs or email or whatever, and say, this book is really a quarterback study. It compares Jameis with every single Super Bowl era Hall of Fame quarterback. And it does that in an era adjusted way. So you're not just looking at counting numbers like, oh, Jameis has more yards than Joe Montana. Well, that's not that relevant. I mean, if you do that, you can say Jay Cutler is better than Joe Montana. So it breaks everything down era adjusted with rankings and things. And so it's really a quarterback study of all the Super Bowl era Hall of Fame quarterbacks, not just how they compare to Jameis, but how they compare to each other. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have gotten a hold of me and said, it's really neat to see Ken Stabler compared with Tom Brady, or Joe Montana compared with Fran Tarkenton. So
Wow, you went way back.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely go way back. Um, on top of that, though, there is obviously the focus is Jameis, and it does go from his childhood all the way to present. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
have a lot of quotes from his early childhood coaches and things of that nature. I do deal with like the Elite 11 camp that he was in, and all of these things. So it follows his life basically from birth, till now.
Yeah.
It just mixes in a lot of statistical research.
Wow, that is now I'm really really interested in getting this book sooner. I was gonna ask you too. Have you contacted Jameis Winston and gotten any comments from him or any family members or anybody closer to Jameis Winston?
That's a great question. I'm going to be careful how I answer that.
Okay, well we'll bypass that. I just
Well, it's okay. It's okay. I'll just say that it makes sense for Jameis not to be associated with the book
understood.
because the guy's got to be interviewed
Yeah,
on a daily basis,
yeah,
and he has to be interviewed by a lot of the people that I mentioned in the book. So, and I know that Jameis has sincere love for people in Tampa. He really does. He's a
yeah.
great young man, and I could be a little rough on people. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter,
Yeah, this off season, I was in shock at some of the things that have come up in conversation and the way you've handled things. Like I said, yeah, I've seen you. I've seen you in action.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm an equal opportunity critiquer, of the
Mm,
press, whether I like them or not. I mean, I took Jenna Lane to task a little bit in the book. I love Jenna Lane. I have absolutely no problem with her. I think she's a really good reporter. But nobody's perfect. Sometimes people will write an article or something that I think is a little slanderous, or
mhm.
it spins a false narrative, and I'm gonna go at that. So it's never anything personal. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been blocked by a lot of people in the media, and it's never anything personal. I don't have any ill will towards anybody, but
right.
if I see a false narrative, I like to refute it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, just based on what Jameis Winston has done, and we just like basic, high level looking at what Jameis Winston has done, he's getting ready to surpass Vinny Testaverde this year, all time passing yards. So, I know, and I know people are going to come back and say, well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not had a good history with quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks. And to that response, Jameis Winston has gone out and done what he's needed to do as a quarterback. I know that there have been plays that you kind of question, but if you look at his overall body of work, I think he's done a good job. It's just it's a team effort. Wins and losses are a team effort. It's not all on the shoulders of the quarterback. It's not all on the shoulders of special teams. Not all on the shoulders of defense. You need all those components to really make it work properly. And just looking at this season, and I know that you said you had written the book for the 2019 season. Do you feel? I mean, am I close? I mean, this is just me as a fan. This is a fan show. Try to get get thoughts of other fans out there. But I know for me, Jameis Winston, I'm happy with what he's done. I think that there is room for improvement. I think with the right coaching staff, I think he can definitely elevate his game, and I really hope to see that this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jameis as an individual talent is magnificent, and I really don't think anybody disagrees with that. Just when you look at arm strength, you look at athleticism, you look at strength, all of that, on-field IQ, everything. People might have an issue with that, but really, the guy's been a savant and a phenom since he was young. So talent is definitely not the issue. Yeah, you could definitely point to coaching. I mean, I
Mm.
really made a concerted effort in the book not to rip any Buccaneers players or coaches, or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I don't
Right.
say anything negative
It's
about.
you were just factual. You were just factual across the board. Okay, these are the facts. I'm just putting them out here.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, I don't say anything negative about Cutter.
Mm.
But one thing that I do point out in the book, when Jameis returned against the Giants there towards the end of the season, and he had those last 6 starts, he made an interesting comment about how coaches sort of wanted him to play one way, and he needed to get back to playing Jameis Winston football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Pro Football Talk that kind of flew off the handle with that and said that was disrespectful and he was trashing his coach. No, he didn't trash his coach, but he was saying he needs to play the way that he knows how to play. And I have one little statistical chart in the book that compares Jameis before he decided to play the way he wanted to play, and when he was being coached by Cutter. And in the table, it actually says pre-benching Jameis, aka Cutter coached, against post-benching Jameis, aka Jameis coached. And his touchdown percentage went from 4.1 under Cutter to 5.7 with himself. His interception percentage went from 6.8 to Cutter to just 1.7 with himself, 4 times better. And his passer rating went from 70.4.8 with Cutter to over 100 with just himself. So I actually trust Jameis. I mean, I know a lot of people say, well, he does some crazy things on the field, but I actually trust the young man. And I think, when the chips are down, he plays his best. I mean, he showed that in college, and he's done that through the pros.
Yeah.
I had one stat just on social media, not even in the book, but if you compare him with Breeze, Newton, and Matt Ryan in Thursday and Sunday night, Monday night football games, primetime games, he blows them all away. When the lights are on, Jameis he shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the team. It's just a team effort, and I think again, there's enough blame to go around for everybody. I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just saying that with all the right pieces in place, I think that he can definitely elevate his game and really let his tape speak for itself. So
yeah, with the wins and losses thing, I mean, for a team fan, and you were explaining that you're a Buccaneer fan through and through, and for a team fan, all that matters is wins and losses. Right. A lot of them don't really care about who the players are; they just want wins. So exactly. I fully understand that. I actually really enjoyed the debate the other day online between Robert Ayers and Warren Sapp. Where Robert Ayers, the former Buck, was sort of really upset with Warren Sapp for trashing GMC or whatever. But Ayers brought up a lot of really good comments, and some of them sounded like they came right from my book. And I posted that. And I mean, yeah, wins and losses, to evaluate an individual player based on team win and losses, that has never made sense to me. I mean, Barry Sanders won one playoff game. That's the greatest runner in the history of the world. I mean, that guy was unbelievable.
You know what? Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Emmitt Smith is not, and I've seen Emmitt Smith. I've gotten to see Barry Sanders, and I've seen Sweetness. I've seen them all play, and I have to hands down say that Barry Sanders is the greatest running back I've ever seen in my life live.
Absolutely. I mean, I went and saw him in person as much as I could, and that guy was just unreal. Yeah. I mean, the line was atrocious, and he's just making 11 dudes miss. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, so to that point, that is really amazing. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and we'll kind of come back to the book, but I want to talk about the game last night. And basically, this is a talent evaluation game. Game 2 and game 4s are always that talent evaluation. Okay, let's put these guys in this scenario. Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was there anybody that jumped off the screen to you?
Tanner Hudson.
Yes.
That young man has got some skills. And I mean, I'm a fan of Cam Brate. I think he's a fantastic tight end. I think he's got a great rapport with Jameis. But if I'm Jason Light, who I hear just got extended through 2022.
Yeah, there you go. He's married to Bruce Arians now.
Yes. And if I'm Jason Light, as much as I love Cam Brate, I'm seriously considering cutting JPP and trading Brate to the Texans for Clowney if he's available. I'd hate to see him go. I think he's great with Jameis, but and I do trust Todd Bowles as a defensive play caller, but I'm still, until I see the defense perform, I still worry about them. Yeah. And I know Clowney's a legit talent.
Yeah, most definitely. I guess to me, to your point, I'm looking at the offensive line. The offensive line concerns me. Any injury, and the offensive line is in a world of trouble. So, you're right. You're right on the defensive side of the ball. We haven't seen that Todd Bowles defense yet. All we've seen are vanilla plays. So we've seen some blitzes, and I was really excited about the blitzes we saw last night. But that offensive line is of great concern to me. Hopefully I'm wrong and I'm overreacting here, but it's one of those things that I saw.
I I agree with you on the line, and the line has worried me for 4 years.
Yeah.
I just don't really see anybody out there that I know that they
No,
could just go get. I know
no.
Trent Williams is holding out, but he's a tackle, and they're probably not going to pay him anyway. So I don't think that works.
Yeah.
Unless a really good veteran gets cut somewhere in camp, I just don't know that there's a guy out there they can go grab.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're 100% right with that. It has to be it definitely has to be addressed next year, off season. No matter what, that has to be the first and foremost. What you're doing is shoring up that offensive line,
Yeah,
especially if Jameis Winston has the career year I think he's going to have this year. So
right.
definitely something to look forward to. What about on defense? I like Bond. I thought Bond had an amazing game last night. Just everywhere. Him, Shaq Barrett. I thought Shaq Barrett looked good as well.
Yeah, I've followed Shaq for a few years, and he is another legit talent. He didn't get a lot of playing time in Denver. Had he got it, I think he would have easily been a double-digit sack guy. So I'm excited to see what he'll do in Bowles' system and with more playing time. Bond definitely played great last night. I mean, they have talent. That's the thing. I mean, I think really the reason Cutter was axed was they have the talent. You don't fire the coach and then reward the GM with an extension if you don't believe
Right.
that you've got talent. So I don't think talent's really ever been the issue in Tampa. I think it comes down to a lot of other scenarios. But yeah.
So when and have you gotten to go to any games, camp games or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't live in the
Yeah,
states.
yes.
I do have a house in Georgia, but I'm almost never there. And I live most of the time in Canada. Yeah, I travel a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very rarely in Florida. I think the last time I was in Florida was probably 5.5 years ago.
All right. And so you getting to watch these games, what do you think? Do you think that Tampa is turning it around? Is this look like a different team? And I know, again, this, and I will preface this by saying this is all preseason. I understand that nothing's translated into the first game, but just the overall, what you've seen from this team. I think the defense looks a lot more lively than what I've seen in recent years. And that's something that I was really concerned about. I've been concerned about is the defense being a liability, because the offense can go out and do their job, but it's up to the defense to hold that lead or possibly get a 3 and out and get the other team, get the offense back out on the field. Just based on what you've seen, do you see that as a potential possibility where the defense will be better than what they were last year?
Yeah, I do. I really do believe in Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator. I think he's one of the best in the business. And I also think that the Arians effect is settling in with this team. I think he's just a natural leader of men. I've been a huge fan of Bruce for years. And I've been trumpeting Bruce to the Bucks, since before Cutter was hired. I mean, that
Yeah.
was the dream signing for me, so I was thrilled when he got signed. And I think, yeah, people will talk about Jameis's lack of fourth quarter comebacks. There were so many games, especially in like 2017, where he gave them the lead in the fourth quarter. The
Yeah.
defense just immediately gave it back.
Yeah.
And hopefully we don't see that this year. I think Bowles will be much more aggressive, than anything Mike Smith did. And I'm excited for it. I really hope Vita Vea gets back, though.
Yeah.
That big boy is a load to handle, and I'm a huge fan of him. So hopefully he gets back.
Yeah, that's something too. I was really excited to see him drafted. Hopefully he can get past these injuries and settle down into the league and start playing some ball. I mean, injuries happen. I know it's inevitable with the NFL that there will be injuries, but he's somebody that I really like. I love what he can do when he's on the field. Just the corner he turned at the back end of the season last year made me excited for this year. So a lot of good things. Brandon Fuller in the chat was mentioning a solid kicker. Matt Gay, I was celebrating when he got that game-winning kick. These are scenarios that I really would love to see translate into the regular season, because the kicking woes have been an issue for years. And kind of jumping back to defense, our defense the Buccaneers defense has not been consistent going all the way back to pre-Raheem Morris. where they're able to go out and hold a lead in the fourth quarter if your quarterback goes out and gets it. So defense is going to be an integral part of this team, and the defense in the running game. So these are definitely things that I'm excited to see. And, hopefully it will help Jameis to settle down and take care of what he needs to do. Because if you remember, Doug Martin in 2015 was the number 2 leading rusher in the NFL. And Jameis Winston was able to settle down and make those passes and really adjust to that offense. And he had a pretty good rookie season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually excited for the running game for the first time in a few years. I think Ronald Jones has a lot of talent. I watched a lot of him when he was at USC, and people will say that Peyton Barber, isn't a legit starter. I think he definitely has the potential to be a legit starter. He's got decent hands. He runs tough. I mean, he'll bowl people over.
He moves the pile forward.
yeah, and Dare, I like him. Ellington can be a pass catching back. I like Bruce Anderson. We'll see if he gets any time in the preseason, but I'm excited to see what Arians can do with the running backs because he's known as the quarterback whisperer, but he's generally always had a good running game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, while he was in Arizona, just what he was able to make out of the running back core that he had there, I thought that he did a great job, and it really benefited the quarterback Carson Palmer while they worked together. So.
Absolutely. And just real quick, you said, how the running game will help Jameis and cut down on turnovers. That's a key point that a lot of people just ignore. They'll talk about Jameis's turnovers and, pretend that every quarterback situation in the NFL is the same. I said this, Ira Kaufman, he had a list of quarterbacks and I love Ira. I love his work, but I told him, I said, to me, your list isn't ranking quarterbacks. It's ranking quarterbacks plus coaches plus system.
Yeah.
That's a different argument. So one thing I point out in the book is average intended air yards, and that shows the average that a quarterback is throwing on all attempts. In the last 3 years, they've only measured it since 2016, so it's only a 3-year-old stat. Mm-hmm. But in 2016, Jameis was second in the entire NFL. In 2017, he was third. And last year, he was second. Now compare that with Drew Brees. 3 years ago, Drew Brees was 36th. In 2017, he was 41st, which means every starting quarterback and backups are throwing the ball farther than Drew Brees on average. And last year, he was 32nd. So all those put together, what it works out to when I broke down the math, Jameis throws the ball on average, every single pass attempt, 52.4% farther than Brees. Every single pass attempt. And you don't expect he's going to have more turnovers? Of course he is.
It's inevitable. And the thing is, I mean, when you look at the running game, when you don't have a running game, your quarterback is one dimensional.
Absolutely.
Your only focus is to throw the ball. I mean, if you can't depend on your running game or your coaching is not committed to the run, then you're one dimensional and this is all you can do, or this is all you're going to do. Right. So to me, when I don't know, I kind of just brush it off when people talk about Jameis. And, I always think that, this is going to be his year. And sometimes I have to really sit myself down and say, hey, the defense hasn't been what it should be. And I mean, the Bucs defense has been atrocious, for some years. And it just, going back to 2015 when they were really bad, and then they kind of came up a little bit, but they just haven't been middle of the road even. And I think that's been a huge factor in a lot of the games as well, because these offensive players can't go out and tackle or play positions or get interceptions. So the secondary was just getting roasted last year and the year before. So it's a lot of things. And again, so now we have to reset your mind, and this is a do-over, new coaching staff, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. Okay, let's go out and see what they can do. So very promising this year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So I want to kind of get back to the book, and because this, is something now that getting to talk to you, I really, really am looking forward to reading this. And this book is 400 plus pages, and where can people get the book at?
It's available pretty much everywhere, but paperback, I would suggest Amazon. I believe Amazon and Barnes and Noble are carrying the paperbacks. And then as far as ebooks, really, it is better as a paperback. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I make more money off ebook sales. But really, it's better as a paperback because the layout it works a little better, and also
because you have physical stats in there that people can look at and reference to.
Yes, yes, and I mean they show up fine in the ebook. The layout, it just works a little better in the paperback, and the paperback contains a full name index. So I mean people can just quickly find all their favorite quarterbacks. So yeah, I would suggest Amazon for that. But if people do like reading digitally, Google, Apple, Kobo, all of them pretty much are carrying the book.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I can go to Kindle and get it yes. downloaded too. All right, because I'll probably get the hardback and the ebook as well, because that's normally how I do it. Brandon Fuller is asking, do you have a bold prediction about the season? I was going to say, I say we are going 4-2 in our division. You know what? Again, I have to see a little bit more. If you guys know me, I'm not big on predictions. Normally let it roll how it does, and kind of have to see what goes on. But I don't know. What about you? How are you looking at the season?
Well, I agree with you about predictions. I generally don't make season predictions simply because injuries happen.
Yeah, all it takes is one catastrophic injury to change the whole season around.
Exactly. I mean, I know a lot of Bucs fans were disappointed when Vea was drafted and Derwin James wasn't. And Derwin is an amazing talent, but he just suffered a serious injury yesterday, and he might miss the season. And it drives me nuts when I hear talking heads on TV talk about quarterback is injury prone. Injuries happen to everyone. You have
absolutely.
no way of stopping them. So. I mean, Jameis could go out there, play MVP football, and the defense could be decimated by injuries, and they win 4 games. Or Jameis could get hurt, and the defense plays unbelievable, and they win 7 games. I don't know.
Yeah, but I will say this, Brandon, to answer your question, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be in every single game this season. There's not going to be a game where you're going to look at that schedule and say, oh, they're going to get blown out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are capable of winning every single game on the schedule, to be very honest. Just looking at the talent they have, if they can put everything together, this team, you get 4 quarters of football on offense and defense, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team can beat anybody on their schedule this year. And that is a statement I will stand by right there.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, because again, I think they have the weapons. You talk about Mike Evans. I just saw the interview with Chris Godwin on NFL Network. We haven't even talked about O.J. Howard or Cam Brate. And then the offensive line is not getting the props that they deserve, because there was a play in the first quarter with the first string offensive line, and they held up on a blitz. And Jameis was able to get the ball off. And just looking at that play where they stood everybody up, those are the kind of things that I'm looking for, giving your quarterback time. Then there were some breakdowns. There were a few breakdowns after that I wasn't really thrilled about. But again, this is preseason. The coaches look at a lot more film. Players look at a lot more film than I ever will. A lot of the issues that I'm seeing are coachable. It's not from a physical standpoint. It's not from a you're not good enough standpoint, but these are issues that I see are coachable, and they can actually turn certain players around. I like the offensive line coach is an upgrade from what they had last year, and I expect bigger and better things from this offensive line moving forward.
Yeah, I think really the only real breakdowns, they're generally with the backups, and those are new guys learning the system, learning everything. I've been pretty impressed with the starters, and I'm a fan of all those guys. I mean, I know there's some people that rip some of them, but I think all of them can play football. I think they're all legit talents. I think Kappa's come along really well. People were down on him last year. I think he's come along well, and Arians has my trust. So if Arians trusts a player, then I'll trust the player.
Yeah. Donovan Smith had a breakdown, but it's preseason. These are things that you identify as issues, and you coach them up and get them ready for the regular season. That's what you're supposed to do. So Hopefully, there are things that they can do to improve this line, whether it's scheme wise or just play calling wise. It just put them in a better position to succeed. Yeah. So I'm going to go through the grades here, and then we'll jump off. But I really appreciate you being on. How would you grade the offense just based on what you saw last night, just sample size?
You mean the first team offense, or
first team offense?
Yeah, I mean last night I'd give them a 8.5 out of 10. I think they moved the ball well. I mean, that final sack, I think it was Rondé Barber was saying Jameis has got to get rid of it. No, he couldn't have got rid of that. He was nailed.
That was a coverage sack, I thought, where he had nowhere to go. Right. I'd rather him sit down and eat the ball rather than making a turnover. I think it was just what you have to do at that point.
Right. And then in a regular season game, I mean, I imagine Gay would have kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
So no, I thought their first team offense looked good last night, and of course they looked great in the first game.
Yeah, and are you seeing, and basing this off of the last game, are you starting to see improvement in certain places? You starting to see players a little bit more comfortable?
Yeah, well, I like the continuation of the running game. That was really what I was looking for. Was they flashed well in the first game. Are they just going to disappear in the second? And they didn't. And I think Bruce will make a concerted effort, to pound the ball a little bit more this year and scare the defense with the run, not just the pass.
Right.
And so that's really what I'm looking for more than anything, is to make sure they're still a little dedicated to the run game and still getting some good runs.
Yeah, Ronald Jones. I'm so happy to see Ronald Jones playing like he is. Ogunbowale is somebody that I'm really looking to see. I would love to see him with the first team and just see what he could do.
Sure.
To see if he can make some plays. I think that would be kind of cool to get him at least a series or two in this upcoming game against the Cleveland Browns, just to see what he can do with first team reps, because you never know. He could be that guy come the middle of the season. He could be called upon to be that starting running back if there are injuries or something happens to occur. So we don't know, don't have a crystal ball, but it's definitely something to look at. Special teams. What were your thoughts on special teams as far as the Bucs go? So seeing a lot of penalties, and again, I'm equating that more to a new system. Hopefully that these are things. Again, these are all coachable things that they can work on and get better moving towards the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the return game, the Bucs haven't been very good in that for years. It looks like Bruce is trying out some new guys there, and hopefully that works out. I agree with you that, you just work out the kinks in the preseason. When I hear special teams, I'm primarily thinking of kicking and punting, and Matt Gay's been magnificent.
Yeah.
I mean, Cairo's been great too. So
yeah,
there's a possibility, they may be able to flip him for a pick to a team like the Jets or Bears who have nothing.
Yeah.
Because Matt Gay, he looks like the real deal. The new punter looks fantastic. I think they'll be improved on special teams.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and you know what? When you go from one season to the next season, all you're looking for is upgrades in positions where a team struggled.
Sure.
That's what you want. Every so often you may get that lateral move. You may get rid of one player and move another player into a position. But for the most part, what you want to see is market improvement every single year. And so, when you look at this team, I think they're heading in the right direction. I think they've got a good coach. I think they've got a good staff full of teachers that can really put this team in a great position. Let me see. I want to see if anybody has any questions for you.
Sure.
And I know you're a busy man, so I won't keep you on very much longer. Any big plans for this weekend?
Oh yeah, my wife wants to head into the city tomorrow, so we'll see what she's got in mind.
Yeah, I got a honey-do list myself as soon as I jump off here. So, but anyway, it doesn't look like there's any questions really. But I'm really happy that you were able to come on. Hopefully, I can get you on again here. During the regular season, just to kind of follow up with you and see what you think of Jameis's progress. So,
sure.
Willie Horace is asking, what are your thoughts on the new rookie running back? How do you think he's done so far?
They're referring to Bruce Anderson.
Bruce Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Bruce. I actually got to watch a couple of his games in college, which is sort of rare. Most people didn't never heard of him, but
Uh-huh.
no, I think he's got a fantastic pass catching ability that he could really develop with that as well, and be a weapon in the passing game. It wouldn't shock me to see him sort of come out of nowhere and start a few games and put up some numbers. But I do believe in Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones, and it's also very possible he doesn't see hardly any action.
Yeah.
But
Is
as
he
long as
somebody that
somebody's
you could see
producing,
going to like the practice squad or something like that?
yeah. I mean, as long as somebody's producing, that's really all the team needs. And if he hangs around the practice squad for a year or two, that it'll work.
Yeah. And then they're talking about, and Weezy's World is talking about Tanner Hudson. Tanner Hudson is balling out. He's this is you've heard me talk about this on the show, making the most of your opportunities, and what he's been able to do. You have to mention his name. I just want to see more blocking out of him. I would like to see him a little bit more physical. I think when you talk about OJ Howard and how Cameron Brate has developed as a blocking tight end, something he's kind of adding to his repertoire. That's what is going to be required in a Bruce Arians type offense, is being able to block and being that physical receiver. So I love what he's done so far, but I think that may be something he would probably need to add to what he can do, because he can run and he can catch. And for whatever reason, he's open. And I'm looking at plays and he's not open, and all of a sudden he is open. That's kind of what you want in a tight end. And I can tell you teams right now in the NFL that don't have that type of a player. So just, the Bucs are fortunate to have three of them.
That's
and,
right.
And then we haven't even talked about Auclair, who's another guy that, again, the Bucs have a plethora. That's my SAT word for today. A plethora of tight ends. So really, really exciting to see what the Bucs have done. And when you look at the level of talent they have on this team, let's hope that they can put it all together and make it translate to the regular season.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend. Hey, what we do on the show, I always let you get your final thoughts, and then we roll out of here. So, what are your final thoughts? And it could be anything from football to baseball to basically whatever. Just what your final thoughts are, and I'll give mine, and we'll roll out of here.
All right. Well, I guess my final thoughts for today are that I hope the Tampa Bay fan base will get behind Jameis Winston. Will give him a shot. That it won't turn into a Shaq situation. I would hate to see, like Orlando ran Shaq out of town and he went and turned into a legend on another team. I don't want to see that happen with the Bucs. The Bucs now have a place in my heart, and I'd like to see them hold on to this young man because, as the book says, I do believe he'll be a future Hall of Famer, and I do believe that it's irrefutable. He's already on a statistical Hall of Fame path when you compare him with every other Super Bowl era Hall of Fame quarterback. So the proof's in the pudding. We'll see what happens, but I hope they ride with him.
Yeah, there you go. And kind of piggyback off of that, I just want I want the Bucs fans, everybody, to come together. We're rooting for this team. I want to see wins. I'd like to see this team go to the playoffs, or at least compete to go to the playoffs. It makes the season a lot more fun, and just kind of make the most of it. I mean, ultimately, we're all fans, and we all want this team to win, and that's kind of where our mindset should really be, is on this team doing better and putting themselves in a position to win, regardless of who's under center. But because Jameis Winston is our starting quarterback, come on, let's get behind him. Let's support this guy, and hopefully he can get those wins for us. But again, the author Jameis 1 of 1, thank you so much for being on. That's pretty much it for us, and I'm gonna roll out of here. Thank you so much, everybody in the chat. And I will be back on again Wednesday with Michael Pless. So, again, thank you so much, and everybody have a good